So after kicking children, will Bonnie be in enough of a fighting mood to attack Nisjuro? Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to episode 1147 of One Piece. And last time, everybody was aura farming. It's like the last episode, or I guess the equivalent chapter in the manga, was all about just everybody looking cool and like doing cool stuff. Like obviously, Nusjoro has been looking cool ever since he arrived on Egghead and revealed his Bokutsu, I believe is what it's called, form. And he's been like freezing all the pacifistas, running around in his centaur form. It's pretty cool. But on top of that, we have Bonnie looking really cool despite what she's doing. Though I guess like context matters here. Like, yes, she's beating the absolute shit out of other children, but one, she's also a child. Kind of just makes it like regular bullying at that point. So a little step down from child abuse. And two, the person's not actually a child, mind you. Um, he was a Marine vice admiral who was de-aged due to her powers. So, by this logic, it's actually a child beating up on an adult. Although the adult looks like the child, and the child looks like the adult because of devil fruit power. So it's still a bit weird, but it's I guess okay. Um, Either way, it's a wild situation. But Nishijoro came and is now confronting directly Bonnie and Frankie and Atlas and them. So that's not good. Meanwhile, Marcus Mars is trying to put a stop to the broadcast. That's, being delayed and everything by, mostly by Shaka. Though, again, Shaka is dead, but, by past Shaka, having convinced Stella to hold off to let people get ready. And now, we're getting close, but Mars has just discovered a lab where it might be, and he's, I guess, found something in a tube or something. I'm not. It was a big cliffhanger at the end of the last episode, and it's not entirely clear what's happening. So, but I think that's the point. Um, I've seen a lot of people online bitching about this because, of course, they have about the pacing with oh, it's like taking all these episodes, like half a dozen episodes um to get to Stella's message to reveal the truth of the world and everything. It's like you do realize that in the manga it will have taken quite a bit too, right? That it wasn't just instantaneous after he first said that in the manga. The entire part about him having to like wait and make sure everybody's ready and then all this stuff happening in between still happened in the manga. The only thing that you could maybe say is that the anime stretches it out a little bit. And even then, I still think people mostly like exaggerate or just, complain about stuff that doesn't need to be complained about with that. It's not an issue, is what it comes down to. Um, I've talked about this plenty of times before, but from my view, I don't see how this is an issue. Just the entire pacing argument people have made in the first place. Because it's like, I've said it before, I don't think this series would work without the pacing the way it is. This series, specifically, like, the adventure, the free aspect, the just everything that's, like, focused on these journeys and everything that goes into them works better when it has like a lot going for it. Stretching it out actually helps it be better. It's like, could you say that the pacing is like longer than in the manga? Yes. But that doesn't make it bad. The problem is, and this is just a problem nowadays, that people are impatient. And this doesn't just go for One Piece, it goes for a lot of things. Not even just media, it goes for anything out there. People are impatient and they want instant gratification. They don't want to wait. And when, in the case of a show like this, has either recaps because of like it being a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks in some cases, like just recently, off of having the last episode, or has like flashbacks or something, or just anything like that, people will cry, excuse me, people will cry bad pacing because they don't want to have to wait for that. They don't want to have to sit and watch that stuff again. And another thing that it comes down to is the entire binging versus watching like weekly aspect. Because a lot of people who get into One Piece, will binge a bunch of episodes at once so that they can eventually get caught up. And it's a lot of those people are the ones complaining because they're binging through it. But the thing is, if you're watching weekly, this isn't an issue at all. If you're watching weekly, it doesn't actually affect anything. Excuse me. In fact, it's actually helpful to remind you of exactly everything. Unless you have like the sharpest memory, you're not going to remember every single thing. Like, you might remember one or two things here and there, but like the flashback will remind you of everything that you need to know continuing forward, which I think, or not flashback, but the recap, which I think is important. Some people are like, oh, but the recap should be shorter. It takes up too much of the episode. It's like sometimes it takes up a lot longer. Sometimes it takes up like 5 minutes. Sometimes I've seen the recaps be pretty much over within like 30 seconds. It just depends on the episode in that regard. And even if it does take up like 5 minutes, they're doing that because they want to end the episode at a certain point. Either a certain cliffhanger or a very like powerful moment. That's just, like making a series. Because you have to realize things are going to be different than in the manga in terms of that. Like, they can't just adapt a chapter per episode because chapters can have wildly different lengths. One chapter could be pages longer than another. And that could make like an episode of a series end up being anywhere from like 10 minutes to like 40. I don't read manga much anymore, but I have, and some chapters can be pretty short. Some can be pretty long. Depends on what's going on in them, what the focus of the chapter is, and so much more. So it's like you can't just do that. Sometimes you have to have multiple. And when when a company is like adapting into an anime, they want to make sure that each episode has a certain focus to it and ends at a point that entices the viewer to want to continue. And sometimes that means that they're not going to have enough content to adapt to fill out the entire 22-minute runtime. Or 21 minute, 22, whatever it ends up being exactly. So they have to either stretch things out or add recaps to buffer that up. And it's entirely reasonable for them to do that. So it's like, and for a longer running series like this, that has to become like the norm. or again, this series cannot work. I stand by that this series could not work as an anime specifically. As a manga, it's fine, but as an anime, it could not work if the pacing were closer to the manga. And I actually can say this because they've done this by reanimating and re-editing the Fishman Island saga, and technically Return to Shabandi as well. But they just referred to it as the Fishman Island arc for some reason. Not saga, by the way, arc. Though I guess it is the entire saga if it includes Return to Shabandi. That's technically part of the saga. So, but it's two arcs that they just put into one saga and reanimated in a sort of modern style, and re-edited it to be closer in terms of pacing to the manga. This was done when they were taking that 6-month break. I don't entirely know why they chose to do it. It was kind of random, but it was also shit. Like, I tried checking that out, and it was so bad in terms of the pacing. It was skipping over so many things. It was just like flashing past things that really needed more time to breathe. The animation also looked really bad, and I don't know why, because it wasn't like the modern One Piece animation. That's the weirdest part. It looked like it was almost AI enhanced. But that's not as much an issue, because I don't think it actually was. But it just looked weird. It didn't look like modern One Piece animation at all. Even like at the time, I think might have still been in Wano. But it didn't even look like modern One Piece animation for that time period. Either way, point is that the pacing was shit, and things were switched around, because I guess they switched some things around in terms of like placement originally from the manga, but it also hurt the overall vibe and feeling of the remade version. It messed up the entire tone and like feeling of it. It didn't feel right. And yeah, part of that is obviously because I'd seen Return to Shabandi and Fishman Island many times. And so it's like, I know like what it normally feels like, how it's normally paced out. And some people would say like, oh, well then you're just used to that, so that's why you're not going to like the new one. But it's like, it's not just that. It's also just that it was very clearly rushed. There were certain scenes that needed to be held on longer. The editing in general was shit. The way it skipped around and cut scenes felt really random and unnatural. It was poorly done. And the thing is, that would work for a manga in how it was paced and cut and everything, because it's a different medium, but it doesn't work for anime. The Fishman Island remake literally proved why things needed to be changed. And that basically just destroyed all faith I have in the actual One Piece remake that's going to be coming. I think it's going to be by JC Staff or someone. I don't know. It's by a different company. That's all I know. It's not going to be Toby. But it's like that. I have no faith in that now, because if that's going to be like paced and cut in the same, or at least a similar way that the Fishman Island remake arc was, then it's going to be terrible. It's going to be so bad. But again, all people ever focus on is the pacing of things, and just because they're impatient, they don't want to wait and everything. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of times where an episode ends and it's like, I want more. But that's just because I want more. It's not because I don't like the pacing. It's just because I love the series and I want more. If this series went on for another 1,400 episodes, I would be absolutely glad for it. This series could go on for another 10,000 episodes and I would be okay for it. Because I don't want it to end. Though I do want, like, Oda's story to be told, and I want to, like, grasp everything I can about it. I want it to end in a way, but I also don't want it to end. You know what I mean? I want it to, like, have its natural conclusion, but I don't. I want to keep watching. You know. Anyway, these pre-thoughts have gone on way too long. I went on that huge ass rant about this entire thing. I've done this before, but it's like it's something I stand strongly by. And again, I feel like the remake for the Fishman Island saga kind of proves my point. It was so bad. It was so terrible. And it's just like, if you liked the Fishman Island remake, all the power to you. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. It's all subjective. But I can't see it. I found it to be atrociously bad. If One Piece had been paced like that from the beginning, I could have never gotten into it. It would have absolutely been like too distracting and destroyed my interest in anything with the story and whatnot. It's like usually like I can handle some bad editing or whatnot, but if it gets too bad, it's like it will actually be a distraction for me. Um, but anyway, let's just get into this episode, see what happens, see if Bonnie and them are really in as much trouble as we think they are, or if someone's going to help them, what's going to happen otherwise. Let's just check this out. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. And we are back, and we will begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, I assume there's going to be more to it. And mind you, this broadcast is being sent out to the entire world, and there's going to be a lot of people who didn't know about this, but us as viewers have known about this since Water 7. Because in Water 7, they make a very direct point of stating that the water levels are rising over time, creating these dangerous natural phenomena like Aqua Laguna, and it's causing problems for Water 7, which is an island built on the sea. It's a floating island built on the sea, and they have to prepare for the rising water levels every year with Aqua Laguna, and it's becoming more and more of a problem because they have to keep building up, which is obviously not easy to do. So this is something we've known about for a long-ass time. But I guess the expanded idea here is that the entire world will sink into the ocean. That the truth of the matter is not just that the water levels are rising, but that eventually, by some point, we don't know the details exactly yet, the entire world is going to sink into the ocean. The only question I have with this is, why? If this is something that Emu and the Gorosei and just the world government in general is doing, why? Because if they do this, logically, they're going to, like, absolutely have less people to govern over. Like, this would absolutely, like, destroy the world's population. Not completely, not 100%, but, like, a vast majority of the world's population would be gone from this. Like, you'll still have, like, the fishmen. You'll still have some, like, certain people who will be able to, like, build manners on how to live underwater. But then you also have to acknowledge the fact that this would also destroy food. You know, plant life and stuff that can only exist above ground. cattle and whatnot that can only exist above ground. So something like this would wipe out a massive portion of the world's population. And why would the leaders of the world government do this? Presuming that this is what is going on, unless it is a natural phenomenon. And the world government is just letting it happen, you would think they would want to stop it. Because you would think they would want to be able to have more people to govern over and lord over and everything, unless their plan is like to get rid of all of lower humanity and only save the celestial dragons and those above them. Like the Gorosei, Emu, I assume probably the what were they called? The Knights or something? Like the guy who killed the one good celestial dragon. I can't remember his name right now. I know he was a Don Quixote. Miosgard. The guy who killed Miosgard was like a knight, I think it said. They're probably counted amongst that too. Because they're celestial dragons too, right? One of them was in the God... I think it was the same guy. He was in the God Valley incident. So... yeah, it's just... unless that's their goal, I just don't see why they would let it happen. Maybe they want to get rid of all of lower humanity and just the lower races in general. But then what are they going to do about the fishmen? Because fishmen and mer people and all can live underwater. They already do. And they even have, Fishman Island, which even has, like, pockets of air and stuff within it. Do they plan on just launching a full-scale attack on that? Now, if this is a natural phenomenon, something is happening, maybe something happened in the past that's causing this, I'm very curious as to how it's happening. Because there's only, like, at least in real life, there's only a finite amount of water. And it's like, that's really not going to change. The water levels can rise based on, like, ice caps melting, but only to a certain point. And I don't know if it's enough that would sink the entire world like that. I don't know if that's what's happening. If this is going to be like a kind of like discussion by Oda on like, environmentalism. It's possible. I mean, other anime have done this, like Lazarus just recently did this. Lazarus very specifically touched on the fact that like the world had like sunk parts of the world had sunk underwater due to water levels rising and stuff because of the ice caps melting, because of global warming and shit. It like Lazarus very specifically touched on this because Shinichiro Watanabe does shit like that in every single one of his shows, whether it's Cowboy Bebop or Space Dandy or Samurai Champloo or Carol Tuesday or obviously Lazarus. In all of his shows, he touches on that stuff. So I'm wondering if Oda's doing the same thing here, because Oda obviously touches on a lot of major like topics such as slavery and government abuse and stuff. It's like there's a lot of like major like topics that can obviously be connected to the real world discussed in One Piece. So I'm wondering if that's maybe what this is kind of going for, because you kind of got an environmental message with like when they said this first back in Water 7. And so this seems to be like, of course, expanding on that. And that's kind of where my thoughts are going. I don't know if that's actually the intent, but it's really interesting, nonetheless. But it's very clear by the Gorosei's reaction at the end that they are freaking the fuck out about Vegapunk revealing this. Now, the thing is, if this is a natural phenomenon, without Vegapunk, I don't know how this could be stopped. Like, I don't think even with Nika powers, Luffy could do much. Unless there's something on the final island. Like, Laugh Tale we know there's a treasure, but we don't know what the treasure actually is. And I'm wondering, like, what if there's something on Laughtail that could potentially save the world? Because we know that everybody who visited Laughtail, Roger's crew, Crocus, Odin, they found out the entire history of everything. They found out everything through their journeys. So they knew about the world sinking. Rayleigh absolutely knows. Shanks and Buggy don't, or they will now, but they didn't because they didn't go to the end of the journey with them. Those two stayed behind. But they're going to know now. But like Roger, Rayleigh, Scopper Gaban, all the others who were there, like I said, Crocus and Odin, who were only temporary crew members, but still, they count. They were there. All of them knew about this and everything else. Like, they know everything. So we know they didn't do anything, and it's clear that it's like the idea is that they didn't want to like act because they knew it wasn't their time and they knew it wasn't their fight, that the true fight was going to come in the future and that they had to put their faith in the next generation. We understand that. But I wonder why they never passed down any kind of information about that. Was it just because they wanted the next generation to also find out this information naturally? They wanted them to discover it and like have a more natural reaction towards it, and we're banking on them having, a proper good reaction to it in terms of wanting to stop it. That's the only thing I can think of. Because there's no way this series is going to end with this actually happening. There's just no way. So it's at this point kind of a matter of how do we stop it? Now, we've already hypothesized that Lilith will escape Egghead because the ending theme here kind of implies that she's going to be the last Vegapunk remaining. And if that's the case, if Lilith does escape with them and all the others end up dying, which, Jesus, fuck. Especially because we know Lilith is, like, very emotional about losing the other Vegapunks. Like, she loves them dearly. They're literal family to her, so. But, like, maybe she'd be able to figure something out. I mean, she is a Vegapunk, so it's possible. That's the only thing I think we can really hope for and bank on right now. I'm very curious about, like, what more we're going to learn here. Because this is just the first reveal. Vegapunk's like, okay, we're starting this. We took these 5 minutes to wait. And now we're going to reveal everything. And I'm just going to go right to the end thing. I'm just going to go to the big reveal first. But again, I think it's smart to do it that way. Not only because, like, from lore-wise, nobody else in the world knows about this. Outside of those at Water 7. But everyone around the world, like, getting that big drop first is going to entice them to hear what else he has to say. And for us as viewers, telling us something that we already kind of knew about, and that being the big reveal, kind of makes us wonder, what else is he going to talk about? What are the other reveals? What's the rest of the truth? It ignites our curiosity because we're starting with something that we already had information on, that we already had knowledge of. So it allows us to get more excited for the rest of the information because we're probably going to get a lot more details regarding this. And probably other parts of this truth as well. I feel like there's going to be a lot that's said here. Now, this episode also allows us to kind of get reacquainted with some characters from our past. We get to see Kaya and Mary and the former Usopp Pirates, Carrot Onion and Pepper. We get to see Duvall of all characters. Obviously, we still check in with the World Economic Journal and Morgan's Vivian Wapple. But we even see like what looked like Stussy, King Stussy, or not Stussy. Why the fuck did I say Stussy? King Stelly. It looked like King Stelly from the back, who is Sabo's adopted brother, who we also saw like at the Reverie and stuff. Garp didn't like him, which fair. um, but yeah, it's like we got to check in, like even briefly. We checked in on Pirate Island. At the end, we saw like the mer people coming up and everything. We checked in with Crocus briefly, and Crocus already knew about this. We saw Crocus's very serious face, and like he already knew about this because he reached the end. He knew the truths of everything. We know that. He was with the Roger Pirates crew when they learned the truths of everything, so they already knew. I wonder if they learned like this specifically from Vegapunk, though. That would be interesting. Because I have no doubt that they've met Vegapunk. I'm kind of curious about that part. We didn't see Rayleigh, which is a little disappointing. I would have loved to see Rayleigh here. And Shocky. But I think they're still... They were busy last time we saw them, right? Like, they went to... I think they went to Boa's aid. Hancock's. To specify, because technically her and her sisters are all Boa. Yeah, I think they were that, but they should still be listening in. I would wager. But yeah, we get to check in on all of that. We also get to see a confrontation between Saturn and Robin, which is like easily one of the most powerful moments in the episode to me. And yes, part of that is just because Robin's my favorite. I won't lie. I'll be honest here. I've made no secret Robin's my favorite character. Though Yamato is up there. He's my number two. And I even was saying, like, in Wano, that he could have surpassed Robin. They're very close. But either way, Robin is still my favorite. And like I said in the reaction, when Robin is actually that paralyzed with fear, you know it's a big deal. And we see why. It shows us why. Saturn was the voice on the transponder snail that, was speaking to them, Clover and Spandam's father, Spandine, I think it is, and everyone on Ohara. Like, initiating the Buster call, initiating everything. Having Clover killed, very directly, that voice is connected to Robin's intense trauma. Which, mind you, she's able to move forward due to, the Straw Hats and them giving her the will to live again on Eni's lobby. But she still has that trauma. Like, you saw how it affected her, how genuinely overjoyed she was to find out Saul was alive. Like, that was the happiest I think we've seen her in this entire fucking series. And we've seen her happy before. But that was the happiest I think we've ever seen her. And so, to then, in this same arc, have her go from, like, the happiest to, like, the most scared, to where she's literally paralyzed with fear and can't move, and the others have to protect her. Mind you, she was already, injured, but... And the others would have obviously protected her no matter what, but still. Nami swooping in, like, really quickly, really, like focused, and just scooping Robin up to pull her away. Like, amazing moment for Nami, too. Because it's like, it shows the lack of hesitation on her part. Nami's normally very scared of enemies this strong. Or even, like, honestly, much less strong than this. You saw how terrified she was of Alti and Wano. That was probably Nami at her most scared. But back then, Nami still stood by her beliefs, and now, there's no fear in Nami at the moment. The only thing she's thinking of is, we need to protect Robin, and we need to fight this guy off. Those are the only things going through her mind. Like, she rushes to scoop Robin up and protect her. Zeus acts on Nami's instinct, attacking. Everyone else there is attacking and defending Robin as well. Usopp is another one. He's obviously, very cowardly, quote unquote. But we see how, despite that fear, he is acting for what is right. He is showing his true courage. And I will always stand up for Usopp being, like, honestly, the bravest person in, like, the crew and all. Because, again, courage is not the absence of fear, but doing the right thing in spite of it. And he's always scared, but he always does the right thing. Eventually. Sometimes he might, like, mess up one or two times here and there. But he eventually will always do the right thing. And again, he did not hesitate here. He fought, like, super confidently. He basically channeled his Soge King confidence. Which, hey, it works. We can't deny that. But yeah, that scene was so powerful and intense. Like I said, we don't see Robin that scared often. I gave the examples of, like, Aokiji, and then just her fear, like, of everyone coming despite her trying to save them, and to Eni's lobby. It's like, we don't see her this fucking terrified, to where she is paralyzed with fear. Robin is normally very cool and collected. She's even, again, jokes about, like, really dark shit like death and whatnot all the time. And so to see her this genuinely, like, petrified by fear is just intense. And then on top of that, we have Sanji trying to fight off Nusjuro, not doing the best job at it, but at least he tried. We see that Nusjuro, I assume the others can do this as well, but he can transform in order to get out of, like, holds and attacks and stuff. When Sanji attacks him and sets his upper human body on fire, he transforms, bringing out his Bakutsu upper body, and this allows him to escape the fire and escape the attack. And then when the giants are holding him, he also transforms with that, which gets him out of their grips. It's just like, that's such a smart way to use a transformation. And we've seen Chopper do this, so it's not like the only time we've ever seen this kind of thing happen. We've literally seen Chopper use his transformations in order to, like, increase his attack ability. Like, he'll attack in a certain way, then transform to launch himself further with, like, jump point or whatnot, and then use that to, like, go into, like, arm point or something. We've seen him use his transformations for, like, combative or defensive, like, actions like that. And it's really cool. And so seeing the Gorosei do that, it's like, it's also just really cool. It's like, fuck. You're making me compliment the Gorosei again. I joked about this last time. And it's like, stop making Nusjuro so fucking, like, cool. Because it's like, I'm supposed to fucking despise these guys. They're, like, some of the most despisable characters in the fucking series. But you make them so goddamn cool, Oda. You make them farm so much aura. Specifically Nusjuro. The other ones, not as much. The other ones aren't, like, that cool. Though, I will admit, Mars has gotten some cool factor in this arc. The other ones really haven't, though. Like, Saturn just became a lot more despisable. And the other ones, even with their, like, forms, which are, I guess, generally kind of cool, they're not quite the same. Like, Mars and Nusjuro definitely have the best of the transformations. With probably Jupiter having the worst with his sandworm. It's like, that's kind of underwhelming compared to the others. Although he does have the big suck. And that is something. But yeah, it's like, just, it's so wild to kind of be excited to see these villains. But I mean, hey, it gets you invested in the series, so there's that. Um, yeah, this was just wild, and Bonnie even goes into giant mode using her powers with her distorted future. It's like that's so good. God, I really want to see like the heights of her abilities because there's like they're almost limitless if you think about it. I think I said this before, but she can use any devil fruit if you think about it. Because if she can manifest any possible future, then the possibility that in the future she could have any other devil fruit power does exist. That possibility isn't like impossible, especially with like the fact that we know there's at least one other person who has multiple devil fruit powers. Like if his like technique or whatever is causing that could be harnessed by someone else, like the possibility exists. And basically it seems like it's mostly on Bonnie's imagination, and like she just has to believe that possibility can exist, which honestly if that's the case that just makes it actually like fully limitless. But it's like, yeah, like she could use conceivably any devil fruit ability. And we've seen her basically using Luffy's. So we know this is the case. God, I really want to see like the limitless potential of her power. This was just another really good episode, which is not really a surprise. Like this series has been so good lately. This arc has been fantastic. I don't know where I would place this in terms of arc rankings right now. Because my favorite arc is still Wano. I don't think this has surpassed Wano for me. And I'll fully admit, part of my love for Wano does come with the trans representation with Yamato and Kiku. It's like that is absolutely a massive factor for me as a trans person. But there's also so many other big like emotional beats that I think Wano does have over Egghead right now. But I would say Egghead's up there. I mean, no question it's in the top five. I just don't know exactly where I would place it at the moment. I think I'm gonna wait until it finishes to really make a guess. And I know that the finish is gonna be coming semi soon. Because they've already started releasing promo material for the Elbaf arc. Uh for the anime specifically. There's already been anime promo material released for the Elbaf arc. I haven't checked any of it out. I just know about it. Like I know they released the character designs for the Straw Hats for the Elbaf arc. And I think there's been one or two other things as well. Like I said, I know that it's been released. I refuse to look at it. Because I think I know one, maybe two character designs for Elbaf, just because, as I talk about all the time, the One Piece community loves to spoil shit on social media. So I've seen like maybe one or two character designs, but that's it. I don't want to see the others. I really don't. So I'm staying away from that. But that does imply that we're getting very close to the end of Egghead. Which, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. We're kind of in the final climactic battle. We're getting the truth of the world now from Vegapunk. We're obviously going to, like, be on our way out. It's just a matter still of, like, how we're going to escape these dudes. Because I still am not 100% sure. Because even with the Giants' help, it's like, these guys are still formidable as fuck. The Gorosei are still, like, very terrifying, and it's like, one can fly. Again, that's still a wrench in our plans. I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do here. But we'll just have to wait and see. So, that being said, tell me your thoughts on this episode in the comments below, and please, no spoilers. While there are some things I know just because of, again, the One Piece community being shit at this, there's a lot I don't know. And I do not want spoilers for anything, just to be safe. Also, just don't spoil other people in the comments. Um, but like, I'll give you an example. I know nothing about what Vegapunk is going to reveal here. I know nothing about this. That's one thing I was not spoiled on, and I am very happy about that. So, yeah, don't tell me anything, please. But I would love to hear your thoughts on this episode and what happened in it. What are your thoughts on this first reveal? Being it specifically something we kind of already knew about, just maybe not to the degree that's being revealed here. What are your thoughts on it? And what are your thoughts on like some of the cool action sequences and some of the dramatic sequences of this episode? There's so much that happened. It was such a good episode. Let me know your thoughts down below. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.